Hello, I'm Tim. I've been reading to you from Living Untethered by Michael Singer. I read it not too long ago and it just really put a very positive, very easy, simple spin on understanding awakening and consciousness that I think anybody can understand it. So it really helped move me along in my spiritual journey, and I've been pretty far into it already. But this was great. It was just so simple and easy to understand. Michael did a great job. So I felt it was very important for me to put it out there on my channel with all my spiritual things. And this is chapter 11 that we're going to be reading now. And I hope that you are finding it helpful and useful in your journey. Chapter 11, Empty Mind. As a conscious being, you are aware of the world coming in through your senses. But your awareness is not limited to that outside world. You also have inner experiences. Sometimes when the world comes in, it makes you feel good. Other times it makes you feel bad. Since the outside world is really just structures of atoms, why does it have that inner effect on you? How could a bunch of atoms get you all jumbled up inside? What's going on? You are capable of experiencing three distinct things: the outside world, the mind, and the emotions. Now that we have deeply examined the nature of the outside world, let's start our journey into understanding the second object of consciousness, the mind. What is the mind? We all know what mind is. We're in here and we've experienced it every day of our lives. In the simplest sense, mind is a place in which thoughts exist. We have thoughts all the time. Why is he driving so slow? I'm going to be late. Now what am I going to do? Undoubtedly, these are thoughts. But where do they exist? They certainly don't exist in the outside world. Scientists are not able to read your thoughts as hard as they've tried. But you can. There's not a machine that they've ever made, even for billions of dollars, that can read your thoughts. Yet you can, effortlessly. That's a pretty amazing power you have. Take a moment to digest that fact. Your consciousness has the ability to be aware of things that machines cannot detect, thoughts and emotions. Take a moment to digest that fact. Your consciousness has the ability to be aware of things that machines can't detect, thoughts and emotions. Sorry, I read that twice. These objects of consciousness surely exist, but not in what we define as the physical world. Our scientists have shown us that the whole universe comes down to energy. Thoughts and emotions are simply energy vibrations at high rates, that machines can't detect them. Someday they might be able to. Machines could detect gamma rays, X-rays, or even infrared light until we made machines that could pick up those subtler vibrations. Scientists didn't then classify these higher vibration objects as something alien to our world. They simply expanded the definition of the electromagnetic spectrum to include them. It's not that the higher vibration hasn't always been there. We simply hadn't been able to detect them. Likewise, your thoughts are there and have always been there. What if a scientist told you, no, your thoughts are not there. I can't detect them, so they don't exist. You'd walk away and laugh. You know your thoughts are there. You, the same conscious awareness you've been discussing, have the ability to pay attention to or not pay attention to the thoughts being created at this higher vibration of energy. Through the years, people have called this higher range of vibrations the mental plane. Many questions come up regarding the topic of mind. For example, what are thoughts and where do they come from? Since scientists don't have direct access to your thoughts, only you can answer these questions. You're in there and you have the ability to look at your mind. You even use the terms my mind and my thoughts. You say, I had a terrible thought the other day. My thoughts are really bothering me lately. How do you know you had a terrible thought? How do you know that your thoughts are bothering you? You are in there, so you know what it's like to be in there experiencing thoughts. You can think of mind as a very high vibration field of energy in which thoughts can be created. Mind is not the thoughts. Mind is the field of energy in which thoughts are capable of existing. Just as clouds are not the sky, but they exist in the sky and are formed out of the substance of the sky, so thoughts are not the mind, but they exist in the mind and are formed out of the substance of the mind. Buddhists talk about empty mind. In the purest sense, that is what we are referring to when we use the term mind. It is the energy field. It is the field of energy with nothing in it. There are no thoughts. There's just an absolutely still, formless field of energy we call mind. This is not conceptual. You can go there. Meditators who have gone deep and understand this. You just rest in void, in empty mind. You're there, but there are no thoughts. It's just completely quiet, completely empty. It's like a powerful computer that has no software on it. The computer has great potential, but it doesn't do anything. That is what empty mind is. It's not stupid. In fact, its latent capabilities are enormous. It is simply still, not creating thoughts. Basically, that is what Buddhists mean by empty mind, and it is our starting point for understanding mind. The outside world exists independent of this field of mind. Whether the mind is still or the mind is noisy, the planet continues to spin on its axis, and all the galaxies continue to float through space. The energy that makes up the physical plane is at a grosser vibration rate than the energy that makes up the mental plane. From your own personal experience, you know that consciousness is capable of being aware of both the physical plane and the mental plane at the same time. Now that we've examined the concept of empty mind, let's begin the process of forming objects in the field of mind. In order for you in there, consciousness, to be aware of the physical plane, you were given a physical body to house the five senses that pick up sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. This body is a gift that the stars gave you and that evolution perfected. Because of the senses, the vibrations from the outside world come in. They pass through the sensory receptors, up the sensory nerves into the brain, and then manifest in the mind where you experience them. This rendering of the outside world is one of the most basic functions of mind. It's very much like watching a ball game being played in California while you're in Florida. The actual physical light and sound vibrations are picked up by the cameras at the game. They're then digitized and transmitted to a receiver at your home. The received signals are then rendered onto your flat screen TV. It seems like you're looking at the game, but you're not. You're looking at the rendering of the transmitted signals that the camera picked up. It's amazing how much this parallels what is happening when you see the world around you. Your senses pick up the different vibrations from the outside world, just like a camera scenario. Sensors do. In the case of your senses, however, you can pick up 5 different vibration rates, not just sight and sound. Your senses convert the different vibrations into electrical nerve impulses and transmit them to the brain. The signals are then rendered in the mind's energy field to, as closely as possible, replicate the original physical source. You become aware of what is going on in front of you by being aware of its mental image rendered in your mind. Just like you become aware of the ball game in California by being aware of what is rendered on your TV screen in Florida. You're not out there in the world. You're inside. You're way back inside. Though the world is happening everywhere, you only experience the part that is picked up by your senses and rendered in your mind. Mind is no longer empty. It has formed its energy into the exact images of what is within its scope of your senses. As we discussed, you are not looking out into the world. The outside is being reproduced in your mind, and you are looking at that mental image. It's really not that different from when you are dreaming. In the dream state, images are being created in the mind, and you're looking at them. The waking state is the same, except that the mental images are being generated by the senses instead of by the mind itself. These mental images that form in the mind are like the images that form on your flat screen TV. The screen was blank, but now it has taken the form of the ball game in California. Your mind was empty, but now it has taken the form of the outside world around you. Your mind is so brilliant. Your flat screen TV has a digital signal processor that takes the received digital signal, decodes it, and renders it onto the screen and through the speakers. Your mind takes the encoded nerve impulses and reproduces the entire scene in front of you, including depth perception, as well as adding touch, smell, and taste. It renders all this detail made out of the higher energy vibration of the mind. This exact rendering of the outside world is one of the primary functions of your mind. It allows you in there to experience the outside world. The mind is such an amazing gift. It is naturally formless, yet it can create forms that are more brilliant than those made by the most powerful computer. Mind is really the first personal computer. In fact, it is so personal that it doesn't need any external form. Its display screen is inside. Its computing and graphic abilities are inside, and you don't need a keyboard, mouse, or voice recognition to communicate with it. It is so close to you that it responds to your will and the slightest impulse from your heart. We have now gone from empty mind to a mind that renders the outside world so you can experience your surroundings. Experience is the nectar of life. You're in there and you're capable of experiencing because of the rendering capability of your mind, of what meaning is life if you don't experience it. We spent a lot of time discussing how the outside world was created, billions of years of stellar activity resulting in what appears around you. You saw how it was created. Now you see how consciousness, which does not belong to the world of form, can experience it through the miracle of mind. In truth, consciousness is the most profound miracle, an essence that knows that it knows that it knows. Everything else is something you're conscious of. The true magic is consciousness itself. When consciousness is simply experiencing reality as imagined in the mind, that is what we call being in the present moment. I'll read it again. When consciousness is simply experiencing reality as imagined in the mind, that is what we call being in the present moment. At this point in our discussion, there is nowhere else to be. The real world is outside. It is being reflected in your mind, and you are aware of the image right in front of you. In this very simple state, you are experiencing what you were meant to experience. The gift of the moment that's being given to you. It comes in, and you learn from it simply because you experienced it. There are no distractions. There's just total oneness with the moment in front of you. Everyone has had some rare moments like this. Perhaps it took a beautiful sunset to bring you to such a state of one-pointed consciousness. You were driving around a corner and all of a sudden the sun was setting with beautiful purple, orange, and magenta. It was the most beautiful thing you had ever seen, and it completely blew your mind. What does that mean, it blew your mind? It means there was nothing left in your mind but that image of the sunset. Not the mortgage, not the problem with the boyfriend, not the worries from the past. The only experience you were having was this beautiful sunset coming in through your eyes, rendering in your mind, and merging with your entire being. Your entire consciousness was centered and focused on the experience you were having, instead of being scattered all over the place. It was truly a spiritual experience. This is what the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali described as the experiencer and the experience become one. You have allowed a merger between subject and object. There's nothing distracting your consciousness from what is happening right in front of you. This is the yogic state of dharana, one-pointed concentration. You've had other experiences that approach the state of one-pointed absorption. Sometimes in intimate moments with someone you love, when everything is just right, you lose yourself in the moment. All of a sudden, total beauty and peace come over you. When consciousness merges with the object of consciousness, you can feel the presence of God. In yogic philosophy, the self is called Satchitananda, eternal conscious bliss. When self-focused pointedly on a single object, one experiences the nature of self, total peace, contentment, and overwhelming bliss. This is available to us at any time if we can just learn to enter the undistracted state of one-pointed consciousness.